morning, everyone. I know the mornings are meant for talking to everyone and getting to share some stories. I'm Pam Blackburn. For those of you who have not met me, I am the vice chair of the alumni board. Shantanu couldn't be here today, so you got the next best thing, or down the list, probably the 100th best thing. But he certainly sends his apologies for not being able to be here at the last minute, but we understand he's a busy man. So thank you very much for being here. Most of you know what Terry Third Thursday is all about. We certainly love that you're here today. Thanks to our sponsors. You can see them all over the place. We would not be able to do this without them. They're very important. Thanks to Christine and the team out there. Again, they are a well-oiled machine, as you well know. So thank you again for being here. So I have the honor of, he's got his back to me, Richard Leveille, of introducing our speaker for today. He is the vice president of franchise development at Small Sliders. He's over 35 years. Sorry, Richard, should have asked you if you wanted me to give that away. He only looks like he's 10. So you started work when you were 5. So it's all good. So 35 years of franchise leadership experience, and he's driven growth for 5 different national brands, launching more than 1,000 locations. His career began as an employee of Smoothie King. So anybody been to Smoothie King? DoorDash, for my daughter, Smoothie King all the time, melts. She drinks out of it. The rest of it melts on the counter and I'm paid for it. Where he helped to expand it to over 650 stores worldwide. Like I said, currently he serves as the vice president of franchise development for Small Sliders, an Atlanta-based quick service restaurant powerhouse with 40 cans open and over 300 in development. And he's leading a brand through a national rapid expansion. He's recognized for having a strategic vision and his ability to build scalable brands in very competitive markets. Richard, we're glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here early this morning, and we look forward to listening to your message today. Thank you.
Oh. Wow. I haven't had too many people introduce me in such a fine way like that. Thank you very much, ma'am. I really appreciate it. It's really quite the honor to be here because there's some smart people in this room, right? And you know what? You talked about my age. I'm probably the oldest guy here. And I remember growing up, always being the youngest guy. You know, I was like the youngest guy in the business, the youngest guy. And now I'm the oldest guy in my office. And they make fun of me. They actually do. They call me the old guy. They like, when I go home, they're like, go back to the old folks home. You know, and stuff. But it is an honor to be here. I was looking at the list of some of the speakers in the past. Oh my God, you know, Chick-fil-A world over here, and Chick-fil-A royalty has been right here, standing right here, talking to this same group. So it is a real honor to be here. In my journey in franchising started kind of funny. I didn't go to University of Georgia, although the 14th best university, public university in the country. That's very impressive. I went to Loyola University in New Orleans, and I studied jazz saxophone. You know, I'm actually a professional saxophonist. And until about 3 years ago, I put the horn up because I moved to Atlanta, and the music scene in Atlanta is a little different. And I decided to just take a break and take my Friday and Saturday nights back, you know, watch some Netflix. And I've enjoyed it, and also enjoy such a fine city that you have here in Atlanta. I miss New Orleans. I've been here for 3 years now. There's certain things I miss in New Orleans, like a really great shrimp po' boy, you know, some really gumbo, or you can't get jambalaya. You can't get there. Y'all probably could all tell me about the one Cajun restaurant in your neighborhood, but you can't get good jambalaya here. So I miss that. But boy, I love it, man. I love the nature. I love the hiking. I love the path. I love the topography, you know, in your neighborhoods. And I love the care that y'all have for the outdoor space. Didn't have that in the city. So it's, you know, y'all really have a fine city here. And what a city to build a business in. You know, at Small Sliders, we started out in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And Haley, and thank you for being here, Haley. Haley is our chief of staff at our office at Smalls. And if we would have called Haley up and said, Haley, we've got a job opportunity for you. We want to move you to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She would have said, no, thanks. You know? So we actually came to Atlanta because we knew when we came to Atlanta and put an ad out on LinkedIn looking for a director of marketing or somebody in franchise development or maybe a franchise business consultant, we would have plenty of applicants and plenty of people that are well educated here that understand the franchise. You know, I've heard different statistics, but somebody once told me there's over 400 franchisors headquartered in the Atlanta market. And I also heard that there's more brands represented in this DMA than any other DMA. That's hard to believe, like New York City and LA and things like that, but maybe that's the case. It's really a powerhouse, this city. And what a hell of an airport. I complain about the airport because I think it is the most efficient airport that I've ever been to in my life. You know, we complain about the parking, but I've got a little parking secret. You go in the long term and you immediately make a left. There's always a space there available. It's my secret. If you get one thing out of the talk today, that's going to be it. I swear to God, next time you go to the airport, am I screaming?
No, he just wants that spot.
Oh,
We're all gonna be
well, they're
there.
building a whole new parking lot now, so enjoy the spot. Enjoy the spot. The chances we're traveling on the same days are probably unlikely. So we have a presentation. You know, I started in franchising when I was in. It's a funny story. I started my own business, so I was a bit of an entrepreneur. I was in college playing the saxophone and working at a music store. And the gentleman who owned the music store said, "Do you think you could help us build a point of sale system?" Of course, everybody was like, "What's a point of sale system?" We didn't know that. This is back in 1985 or something like that. But I had a little bit of a techie, I was a little bit of a nerd. And I nerded out and started learning about point of sale systems and developed a point of sale system for this music store. I thought it was genius because at the time, point of sale systems cost $30,000, $40,000 and really didn't work because at the time, you didn't have the Macintosh. Apple was just getting started. The big computer out was the Commodore 64. So you didn't have the computing power that you have now. But I was an enthusiast of an Atari computer. And I was able to devise a point of sale system using multiple Atari computers. And I started my own business selling them. And the first the first meeting I had was the guy who had a little health food store called Town and Country Health Foods. And he sold vitamin supplements, thousands of them. You walked in his store, there's just little bottles everywhere. And he said to me, he says, "Man, I really love what you're doing, Richard. I want to buy your product." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I went home to my mother's bedroom, my mom's house, my bedroom, my mom's house, and said, "Okay, now I have to deliver on what I just told this guy I could do for him." And I really didn't know how to do it. And I had to figure out to do it. So I did it, delivered, and he said to me, he says, "You know what? This is fantastic. I really want to franchise my business. Would you be willing to help me?" And I said, "Well, I have a job already at a music store." And it really made my heart was in the music store, to be honest with you. I wanted to be the saxophone player on the Tonight Show. That was always my dream. And but I made the decision to go work for this gentleman, and the business ended up being Smoothie King, as Pam said. There was a little smoothie bar in the back of the health food store. And we moved the smoothie bar to the front of the health food store and promoted it and changed the name from Town and Country Health Foods to Smoothie King. And, 600 units later, we sold the company for millions, of course. And it was just a great run. And it was great to be involved in that incubator status of a brand new startup. And we had one restaurant. You know how we learned how to franchise? We went down to the bookstore and we bought a book that became somewhat my Bible for several years called Franchising for Dummies. It was written by Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's. And he put all his tips and tactics and trade things in this one nice little book. The book's still out today. It's a good book. I actually, when thinking about what I was going to say to you this morning, I went and looked at the bookshelf and sure enough, it was there. I think I lost my original copy and I bought a new one just for nostalgic purposes. So it hadn't even been opened yet. And it was nice to flip through there. So you never know how you find the information that you need to start a business. And we started franchising Smoothie King. And it was a lot of fun. But, franchising is a huge industry. Like we all know, franchising is without a doubt the best vehicle to get into business. Not sure the statistic still stands, but they used to say 92% of small businesses fail within the first 3 years. Probably right. Some of you have probably opened up businesses and failed, in the first 3 years. And some of you have opened up second businesses, and some of you have been very, very successful. But business failure is not uncommon. But in the franchising world, 92% of businesses are still open today that started 3 years ago. So it's the exact flip-flop. And believe it or not, y'all should do your own research on this. There's a little bit of a war against franchising right now. A lot of issues in Washington, D.C. that are going to hurt the franchise business and really hurt franchisors like us. So there's a lot of legislative activity right now on the Hill trying to figure out how we can combat the changes that some people want to make to the franchising model. But we'll talk about that another day. There are 3,000 franchise brands, almost 1 million franchise locations. And, economic output, GDP in franchising is, $900 billion. It's a big industry. And today, anything is franchised. Anything is franchised. I remember one time I went to a franchise convention and they had this franchise called Fish. I'm like, well, what is it? What does Fish do? Are they a fish store? I didn't really know. Are they a fish restaurant? They were a window cleaning service. And I'm thinking, do I really need to buy a franchise and pay royalties to learn how to clean a window? But when you think about it, if you're cleaning the windows of this building, you better have some technical expertise. Not anybody can do that. And this franchisor does that. Another one that's kind of unique is Mosquito Joe's. Now, 10 years ago, if I would have told you we're going to create a franchise, it's going to come into your backyard and spray your plants so that the mosquitoes aren't there for your kids. So they can go play in the backyard, or you can enjoy your nightcap. That wouldn't have been something anybody would have thought of. But now there's not only Mosquito Joe's, but there's Mosquito Richards and Mosquito's this, and there's probably 10 or 20 different competing franchise brands that do the same thing. So it's really amazing. You've seen a lot of these brands, of course. Who's been to Dave's Hot Chicken? They're one of the hottest brands out of California. They're on a growth trajectory like we are, or I should say, we're on a growth trajectory like they are. They're a few years ahead of us. These are great brands. A lot of these are legacy brands. I had a guy work for me for a while. He actually worked for Mr. Bell with Taco Bell. It's funny, we don't even know that there was a Mr. Bell, but there actually was a guy named Glenn Bell, and he started Taco Bell. And they tell me this, I don't know if it's true or not, but in the early day, Taco Bell used only the finest ingredients, the finest ingredients. I'm not sure they still live true to that statement, but we all crave a Taco Bell every so often. But some great brands out there, but I'm not here to talk to you about Hilton or McDonald's or so forth, although I study these brands. I admire these brands. What brand on this? Somebody tell me what brand they admire the most on there. You tell me yours, Todd.
Well, I work for Chick-fil-A.
Okay, well, outside of Chick-fil-A, because boy, you can do a master class on that. That's an incredible business. But outside of Chick-fil-A, what brand do you admire?
McDonald's, because of the scope and scale and how they built the industry.
That's what I expected you to say, especially a Chick-fil-A guy, because McDonald's we all joke about McDonald's, right? We don't think their burgers are the best but we go there. And we may not go there, but people go there. They're a very successful brand. And right now I can tell you that within a 5-mile radius, there might be 7 of them. The way they've penetrated and grown all over the United States and all over the world for that matter. Chick-fil-A is an amazing company, and Chick-fil-A is kicking their butt all day long. But in terms of growth and hitting critical mass, Chick-fil-A is only 10% of what McDonald's is. So I'm sure y'all study them as well, how they do that. But yeah, same thing about McDonald's. But I want to talk about small sliders. Who here has heard of Smalls before you saw that I was going to be here? So just a few. Who here is, other than Haley, Who here has been to Smalls? 1, 2, only 2. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do. And you know, what I get really excited about is that 5 years from now, y'all will all have been to Smalls. And some of you will be, as we call, frequent sliders. And some of you are going to have, you know, us at the top of your DoorDash account, and your kids are going to get home from middle school. We were talking about this earlier. Your kids are going to get home from middle school and they're going to say, I'm ordering Smalls. And Smalls will show up at their door, you know, 30 minutes later, hot and fresh, good as can be. And that's the journey that we're on. You know, we're trying to make Smalls a national company. We're trying to hit critical mass with Smalls. We do have one in Atlanta open. It's way down in Stockbridge, down there at Henry Crossing area, and it's doing well. We also have one I'm excited about that's opening in Athens. So real close to the campus. I want to say Alps and Baxter. And it's a funny story. And well, we went there to build our traditional building, and they said, your traditional building is too small. It needs to be larger. There's a thing in Athens, you can't build a building too small. So we had to almost double the size of our building to be able to get a permit to open up in Athens. But it is going to be an incredible location. We have another one coming over here on Windward Parkway, Windy Hill. We've got another one in Ackworth. We've got another one in Loganville, another one in Riverdale, another one in Conyers coming. And man, we're looking. If any of y'all are commercial real estate guys, any of y'all happen to own a few extra parcels, let us know. We need property. We need property. The number one barrier we have to growth is real estate. It's real estate. You know, and second to that, it's operators, not franchisees. I'm talking about operators, people that want to marry themselves to the passion of making sure that every guest is satisfied. That's the hard thing to do. Brandon Landry is our founder. Brandon Landry also founded the concept walk-ons because he was a walk-on to the LSU basketball team. It's funny too, because he says, I played 7 minutes in 2 years of being on the team. I actually saw 7 minutes of playtime. I was really good. But he said, I worked as hard as anybody else. I was at every practice. I was early, you know, I was trying. I was in great shape. I just wasn't as good as those 5 people that generally were on the court. But he said, my coach treated me like I was important as the point guard. And when I decided to open up my restaurant, I wanted to make sure that I treated the guy washing the pots just as important as the general manager. And that was the culture that he built. And that's the culture that then resonated with every business that he ever had. He's got a few successful businesses. But walk-ons, when he found out about Smalls, when he created Smalls, he had about 60 walk-ons. And he had a business partner who was a famous NFL quarterback, Drew Brees. And we all know Drew. Well, does everybody here know Drew? Anybody not know who Drew Brees is? Thank you. I got to take a quick side note here. 2 days ago, a little ad popped up on some little clickbait website. You know, nobody created it. Nobody tried to get it, but it was an article about Drew Brees and his involvement with small sliders. Nobody had anything to do with it. The article was junk. It looked like it was AI created. The picture was awful. I mean, like they caught him like coming out of the shower or something, you know, like it wasn't his finest picture. We had a lead, an inquiry about our franchise every 10 minutes 2 days ago. We had 120 people apply to buy our franchise based on that. We would normally get 2 or 3 a day. We got 120. The power of the internet. You know, and many of them are good. And I bet you a few of those people actually go through the entire sales process and become franchisees of ours. But Drew Brees walked into walk-ons and he said, if ever there were a sports bar that I could get behind, if you haven't been to walk-ons, there's a beautiful one in the Battery. And they're also headquartered here, just up in the perimeter, right around the corner from us. But there's a beautiful one in the Battery that they just opened up. And They are a, family-oriented sports bar. I'm not talking about a Hooters or a restaurant. I'm talking about, a real family oriented, and they bring this food from South Louisiana. So they've got that Cajun culture and the sports and TVs everywhere. And of course, they've got, I don't know, 100 beers on tap and all the cool stuff that sports bars need to have. But they focus on family atmosphere. And that was their point of differentiation. And Brandon Landry, growing up in Baton Rouge, there was another little company that started there called Raising Cane's. So I think Brandon was maybe in a third year of college when Raising Cane's opened up their first location. And it was right there by LSU's campus. And Brandon, of course, one of the first ones in line, he loved QSR. He loved fast food. He got him some chicken tenders, and probably Todd Graves, the founder of Raising Cane's, who's now the 201st richest person in America and the 293rd richest person in the freaking world. That's amazing. He started his business 29 years ago. Built it with his own hands, went and got a job, catching salmon in Alaska so that he could get enough money to start his business. That's sometimes what it takes, right? He's got an incredible story. Watch him. He speaks well. His podcasts are amazing. And Brandon watched that business grow. And the first time I went to, who's been Raising Cane's? Y'all been to Raising Cane's before, right? And you know where he got it from. He went to UGA and he stole it from Guthrie's, and boy, Guthrie's is shaking in their boots now. They're scared of Cane's so bad. If a Cane's opens up across the street from a Guthrie's, sorry, they're going to struggle. Cane's open next to a Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is going to lose 10% of their business that day, but they're going to gain it all back, And if a Chick-fil-A opens next to a Cane's, here I'm supposed to be talking about smalls. I have a hard time about it. If Chick-fil-A opens next to a Cane's is going to drop 20%, but gain it all back again. This is what they tell me. If you ask the real estate department at Raising Cane's, how do you find sites? They just say, we look for a Chick-fil-A. And it's true. It's the truth. That's what they do. And this is what I say. If you want to be successful, hang around successful people. As simple as that. You put your kids in a school where successful kids go to school. That's why you do that. So if I'm in business, I need to hire successful people. If I want to live in a great neighborhood, I need to live in a neighborhood with a bunch of successful people, and nice homes and that kind of thing. That's where I want to live. And if I want to find a piece of real estate and be successful, let me sit myself around other businesses that are successful. There's a certain magic to real estate, and nobody can figure it out. And there's no analytics in the world that'll tell you. But if I find a great Chick-fil-A and a great Raising Cane's and a great this and a great that, it's probably going to be a great Smalls. So I'm looking for that. It's part of our site criteria as well. But back to Brandon Landry. How much time do I have? Brandon Landry, and I remember the first time I went to Raising Cane's, my kids brought me there. I says, kids, I'm sorry. This ain't going to make it. This is not going to make it. They got like one product. They don't have barbecue sauce. Forget it. Now I'm like, now my kids are like, Dad, we told you, we know more than you. But they've been obviously extremely successful. And Brandon Landry watched that in Baton Rouge. He watched Todd Graves become really successful. So he was growing walk-ons and Todd was growing Raising Cane's, and the two of them became very close friends. In fact, they bought houses next door to each other. And they hang out on a Friday night. They play golf on a Sunday, So Brandon had this mentor in Todd Graves and was learning a lot from him. And one day Brandon was coming back from walk-ons from work. He had his 50 units. He was chief, CEO of walk-ons and chairman of the board. And he had brought Drew Brees in as a partner at Walk-On. So Drew Brees owned a part of it, and he got to know Drew Brees real well. And then he was driving home one day, and he grabbed some sliders from the Walk-Ons because they had sliders on their menu. And he's eating them in his car, headed home one night, and he says, wow, this is a great product. It's great in the car. I can hold it with one hand. It doesn't drip on me. It's a handheld. It's kind of a new term now. It's a handheld food. You can't eat Popeye's fried chicken and drive your car. You can't eat a Jimmy John's and walk to class. But this particular slider, he's like, this product I can eat while I drive. It's not, I can't eat, Kentucky Fried Chicken and deliver Amazon. So really this product could have some power. And he started thinking about, well, what if we took the chicken tender and moved it to the side and inserted the absolute perfect cheeseburger slider done one way, just like Cane's, always perfect, one way, one sauce, one pickle, one protein. Could that product work? So what did he do? He called his buddy, Todd Graves, and says, Todd, what do you think about this? Get rid of the chicken tender. Let's put in a cheeseburger slider. And Todd Graves said, well, have you ever heard this story? Todd Graves said, well, I'd have to try it. So Brandon says, well, come on over. We'll fire up the Blackstone by the pool and I'll make you some sliders. And he did. And Todd Graves tasted it and says, this is a really great product. You need to try this. So Brandon put together a few friends and people that he trusted, business people that he wanted to potentially be in business in a new venture with, that he could trust because he was real busy doing other projects. And they started to put some things down on paper. And he had some renderings. He had an idea of the menu. He had this look of the containers, and I'll show you some pictures in a minute. And he was on a plane going to an NFL event with Drew Brees one day, and he showed it to him. And Drew Brees says, this is genius. You need to let me be a part of this. And Brandon's like, look, I don't need a partner. I'm not pitching you here. But how do you say no to Drew Brees? So Drew Brees became a partner and Brandon Landry formed Smalls, and that's when it started. And they found a location to open up the first restaurant. And they said, we want it to cost less than $1 million, but do more than $1 million in revenue. That is the proven franchise model. If we can achieve those two milestones, we're going to have something that works. 1 year after they opened up the first restaurant, they looked at the sales. It cost $1 million to open, cost all of the $1 million, maybe a little more. So they checked that box and it did 1.4 million in sales. And they're like, wow, people like these little burgers. And they were still, of course, figuring it out. They didn't know what they were doing, but they were figuring it out. So they said, well, let's open up a second one. And halfway through the year, they looked at the sales for the second one and they're like, wow, it's doing 100% same-store sales increases over the prior year. This thing could do more than $2 million a year. We need to franchise this. And Brandon's an impulsive guy, man. When he decides to do something, it's going to happen. And at the end of that year, they had sold a few franchises. They had opened up their second restaurant. And this is, by the way, this is 2020. What happened in 2020? COVID. LSU was shut down. LSU is down the street. LSU was shut down. And they do 2.4 million that year. It was actually 2021. The original restaurant opened up in 2020. So at the end of 2021, they've got 2 restaurants open and a few franchisees. And then my good buddy was tapped to be the CEO. He says, I want you to be the CEO. And he's a good friend of mine. And then he says, Richard, I want you to join us. Give me a few minutes to raise some capital and that kind of thing. And he did. And then I joined him the following year in 2023, I guess. 2022. What did I say? 2022. Yeah, 2022. I joined the company. And we started franchising the business just very, very lightly. We opened up the first restaurant. It was in Thibodaux, Louisiana. And everything that could go wrong went wrong. The grill broke. First day. Couldn't even make burgers. Luckily, we had an extra one. So we got that running. Half of the fryer broke. Shake machine went down. No shakes today. We hired this great general manager. He was from Panera Bread. Loved the guy. Thought he was going to do great. The first day was so stressful, he didn't show up the second day. We called him and we said, hey, where you at? He says, we're on your way. You're close. We're about to open. He says, I quit. People. It's all about people, right? We hired the wrong guy. There's one thing we can do right. Got to hire the right people. So everything that went wrong with that restaurant went wrong. And Brandon Landry, very smart guy, he took a step back and he watched this debacle of a restaurant opening in his brand new franchise with a concept that he felt had tremendous legs. And he said, let's stop. Richard, don't sell any franchises. That we can't open any more restaurants. We got to get our act together. We got to build a foundation. And Brandon was smart enough to bring on 10 Point Capital, who's another Atlanta-based company, who is a big investor with Tropical Smoothie Cafe here, also an investor with Leveille, also an investor with a concept called Slim Chickens. I don't think they're here yet, but they're coming out. There's so many great concepts out there. And they gave us some capital and we started building a foundation. And then by the end of that year, we had about 5 locations open and we were doing pretty good. And then we hired a CEO and then we moved the office to Atlanta. And when we moved to the office to Atlanta, just 3 years ago, we had 2 employees, me and the CEO. And it's hard to believe now we have 42 restaurants open, doing, average unit volumes above 2 million. We got a few out there that are looking at 5 million year one, which is pretty impressive. Not a lot of them, but we're in our growth stage. We're in our infancy. We're still trying to figure it out. And we've got about 360 restaurants committed to, where people like Patrick come to us and say, hey, I'd like to open up 5 in this area. I'll open 1 a year for 5 years. So I was like, my simple philosophy was, let's find 100 people that all want to open up 5 units that can open up 1 a year. In 5 years, we'll have 500 units. Simple math, right? Not quite that easy, but we have 58 of those people right now. We found 58 people that love the brand. They're what we call smalls in. If you're smalls in, you love the brand. If you're smalls in, you want to share it with everybody. If you're smalls in, you want to wear the swag, take an Instagram shot. That's what happens when you're smalls in. But that's what Brandon Lance, how we started, and it's cool because this is the menu. This is what you see. This is the current menu in our restaurants. And we call them cans, by the way. So I'll stop saying restaurants and I'll call them cans. And I'll share with you why in a second. But what can you get on this menu? It looks like I can get a combo 2. Comes with what? 2 burgers, fries, and a soft drink. If I want, I can get a kids combo. That's just 1 slider. Or I can add bacon because everything's better with bacon. And by the way, Drew Brees loves bacon. I saw an Instagram post one day. He was bringing donuts to his kids, but he said, these donuts don't have any protein. So he took bacon and stuck it in the donuts to give to his kids. So we had to add bacon for him. Or you can do what I always do, make it a Biggie Smalls, twice the meat, twice the cheese, add the bacon to it, put the queso on the side, which is magic. Every brand has magic. Chick-fil-A's magic, hospitality, right? Hospitality is Chick-fil-A's magic, in my opinion. Raising Cane's magic, it's always going to be hot and it's always going to be fast. That's their magic. Popeyes is my favorite brand, by the way. I'm from New Orleans. We like chicken. We like New Orleans chicken. We like the spice. We like the flavor. But Popeyes just can't get it right. They're just struggling so bad. It's hard to make bone-in fried chicken. It's a tough business. In a world where everybody wants stuff fast, it's hard to keep fresh chicken for everybody. But I love Popeyes. I actually love it so much, I'm willing to be disappointed 4 out of 5 times. If they can just get it right once out of 5, I'm going to continue to be a loyalist. You like Popeyes in New Orleans. Nothing like a Mardi Gras parade and a box of chicken. Beautiful. But the magic of Popeyes is the spice. We're still trying to define what the magic is in Smalls. But one of the magical items is queso. Dip in your waffle fries in queso. Now look, I want you to think like you're thinking about buying a franchise now, okay? Thinking about becoming a Smalls franchisee. And you've already been in the restaurant business. And by the way, the average QSR restaurant has 74 menu items. 74. I don't know how many Chick-fil-A. I'll keep looking at you all day long because you're but Chick-fil-A probably has 40 or 50 items, and then items that are rotating in and out through the year and that kind of thing. McDonald's has 4 different types of bacon. Think about the complexity of managing that operation. Bun, pickle, sauce. That's our single sauce. Don't ask us for ketchup. We don't have it. We have it, but we're not going to put it on your burger. We'll give you a packet. So bun, pickle, sauce, meat, cheese, bacon, waffle fries, soft drinks, queso, milkshakes. We have 10 things we sell, 10 ingredients that we need to make our menu of 5 items. It's a beautiful in the restaurant business. You know, one of the big challenges restaurant is keeping control of theft. I only have to keep control of 10 items. You know, one of the big things in the restaurant is managing all that inventory. I only have to inventory 10 items. Unloading a truck, it's 10 items. Taking an inventory at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month. I only have to worry about 10 items. It's a beautiful thing. Now, of course, there's cups and lids and cleaners and all those kind of things. So when you look at the order guide from our suppliers, there's about 42 items on it. That's it. Whereas a McDonald's might have 300 items on it. So it's just, we've taken all those things. I used to tell people, if you have somebody you dislike, give them a restaurant. You know, like that's kiss of death, man. Give them a restaurant. If you really dislike them, give them a restaurant with a bar. You know, think of the complexity of that and then compare it to this. Pretty sweet, huh? I mean, it sounds like it, wow, that could be great if it's enough product to support people, but the product better be great. And it better be great every time. But that's one of the beautiful things about this menu. And think about when you hire a team member. Olivia wants to come work for us because she really wants to make burgers every day. We have to teach her to make one burger, one way all the time. That's it. Honestly, I could teach Olivia to work that station in about 3 minutes. And she would be as good as anybody. That's what you want in this business. If I've got to teach a guy, one of our franchisees owns a lot of McAllister's Delis, which is a local company here. They're part of the Go-To Foods brand, or former Focus brands, and great company. But they tell me there's 128 ways to make a baked potato at a McAllister's. They've got toppings that we don't need the people they hire have never even seen these toppings. They don't even know what they are. So they're completely stressed trying to make that baked potato perfect all the time. We make one burger one way. We fry fries one way. We have one fry. We don't have curly fries and waffle fries and regular fries and seasoned fries and 3 different sauces for the fries. We're simple on purpose. That's what our menu is about. Think about when you have to, think about this. Think about the customer perspective. When they go, they can look at this menu board and immediately know, wow, what do they sell here? And don't we want that? I mean, like Cheesecake Factory is cool and everything. Well, used to be. Now it's like so complicated. You don't know what to get. And you kind of, when you see a big menu in a restaurant, that's why Houston's is one of my favorite restaurants, right? Because they sell the same things they've sold forever. And you know that it doesn't matter what you get, it's going to be good. It's going to be the best that you can get in a restaurant almost. You know, that's a claim to fame for that brand. Same thing here. The guests love this menu because they don't have to think. You know, the other thing that's hard in the restaurant business is to hire people that can have fun. You know, you want your team to have fun. If I have to teach Olivia how to make burgers, she's going to know in 3 minutes how to do it. So what does she now have time to do? Have fun. Talk about her family. Talk about her accomplishments to her coworkers. Having fun in the restaurant is a big, I got a screen right there. I didn't see that. We have, here I am looking over here to see what it says. We have 42 locations, it says right there, in 11 states that are open. We sold franchises in about 18 states. And typically what we do is we sell somebody the rights to do 5 units in 5 years, 1 a year, just like I told you. They get a geographical polygon and a way to do that. And you haven't had the burger. Only one, I think 2 people over here had the burger. I don't want to ask them how it was because they might say, that's okay. Maybe they're Chick-fil-A guys. Queso was good. Did you dip the burger in the queso? Okay, good. Yeah, it's a great concept, but it's a real burger. You know, nothing against Crystal, great brand. I have great respect for Crystal, but their burgers aren't that good. I mean, they fit. There's a certain time of day that they're good, a certain state of mind when you crave a Crystal burger, and there's nothing better than a Crystal burger at that moment. But Smalls is a real burger. It's a real burger cooked on a flat top, seared with a little crust on the edge, and that cheese is melted on there and the bun is toasted. And then you put the bun on top of the cheese and the cheese just glues it together, Let's go to Smalls. There's a bus outside. It's a real burger. And the waffle fries, they're seasoned with just a light seasoning. And they're battered with a light batter. I like to say, golly, he's going to hate me for this, but they're Chick-fil-A fries with personality.
Oh, my God.
Chick-fil-A fries are great. And Chick-fil-A is great. They're the best. They're amazing. We have some people in our office that worked for Chick-fil-A. And great, just an incredible brand. And one of my favorite sayings is Andy Caffey. He would say, the taste of the roast, or Truett, the taste of the roast is affected by the host. And I say this to our franchisees all the time. If you serve the food with a smile, it tastes better. It tastes better. If the restaurant's clean, the food tastes better. If the team members are having fun because they're not stressed out about 128 ways to make a baked potato, the food tastes better. And that's what we're trying to bring to our restaurants, is a culture of fun and excitement. And we do it with a real burger, not a White Castle that has these little holes in it. And it's just like just a little thing mess. It's a real burger. It tastes great. So imagine this. We just started out. We have this great burger that we feel is just going to be amazing. We have no restaurants, just a few restaurants, a handful of restaurants. And what we have to do is build a brand around it. Nobody knew about us. Nobody knew there was no brand. A brand is the little space that a name occupies in your brain. And what does your brain think about that product or that name? That's a brand, is that little space. We had none of that. We had no mind space of anybody. We didn't have a brand. But we wanted to build a world-class brand. And that's why a lot of y'all know about us, but have never tried it. I get calls sometimes, people call me, they'll be like, Michael, where do you live? They're like, Seattle, Washington. And I'm like, well, that's a long way from here. Why do you want to do Smalls? Oh, I love Smalls. It's the best thing in the world. Well, have you ever been to one? No, I haven't been to one, but sign me up. I want to be in the Smalls business. I'm Smalls in. They'll tell me that. And I'll say, well, do you know anybody that's been to a Smalls? Like, did you get a third-party recommendation at all? And they're like, no, but I want to be in Smalls. We built a world-class brand. We built a world-class brand in the minds. The challenge now is, honestly, we have to deliver on that. That's a lot harder, But we did some great stuff. But first thing we did was bring in top leadership. We brought a great CEO in. She was an amazing brand builder. She's not with us today because she wasn't the person to take us to the next level, but she did an incredible job while she was here. We brought in top leadership. Why did we move to Atlanta? We needed top leadership. Couldn't get people to move to Baton Rouge. So we knew we had to move here. We had to be innovative. We had to look and feel different. Our menu is different. We're disrupting the market. Everybody else has more toppings. Let's put more toppings on there, more options. We have less. Everybody else has 3 different kinds of fries and onion rings and cheese curds and this and that. We have one thing. We're disrupting the market. Everybody else is making their burgers bigger. We're making them smaller. We're disrupting the market. Everybody else builds a cinder block building and throws a sign on the front. We build this crazy looking container-like thing, and it's different. You drive by it, you can't not look at it. You can't avoid it. You try not to, and you're like, it's going to happen. You're going to end up looking at it. And we've got to disrupt the market. We're building a world-class brand. And when you do these things, you get this cult-like following. I'm talking about Chick-fil-A a lot, but I've heard that there are people that claim they've been to every Chick-fil-A opening. Is that true? I think there are people that just like their life is just to go to Chick-fil-A openings. That's probably impossible these days. But at one time there probably was, and they got there the night before and they camped out And Truett Cathy would be there camping with them. And that's what it takes to build a cult following. We have the same thing. As we said earlier, we have people that want to wear our swag. They want to buy a hat with our logo on it. They want a shirt. They want to take a picture of themselves in front of the can with the logo in the back and get it on Instagram. They think that adds to their stature. They want to show up early. They want their kids to work there. They want to get a Smalls tattoo. Now, I know that's crazy, but there are some people out there that actually have tattoos of our logo on their body. It's a burger. Come on, give me a break. But that has happened out there. Poor guy. One guy got a logo right here. And 3 weeks later, we changed the logo. I felt terrible for the guy. I wonder if he's ever got that fixed. He's actually a team member. But we've built this cult-like following. This is what's happened. And again, now we got to deliver on what we said we're going to do, because our goal, our vision, where we want to be when we grow up is to be the #1 cheeseburger slider brand in the world. We want you to think, let's go get sliders today for lunch. And everybody there knows it's Smalls. We want to be the Kleenex or the Xerox of the slider industry, you know? And we're on our way to do that. I don't know who has this title now, you know? I don't know, because slider's an interesting term. But we're definitely, that's the direction we're going in. And we also have a mission. And look, I believe that if you want to be successful, you got to make everybody around you successful, right? I think that's important, because if you do, then you will be successful. Our mission is to make everybody's day better, you know? And you know what? When you take a bite of a great burger, your day instantly changes. Your attitude changes. Food changes our attitude. Food is fun, you know? I mean, I think everybody would agree with that. So what do you do when you're feeling down? You eat, you know? We have a picker-upper. It's called a small slider. It makes you feel good. And when you come to our restaurant, the burger may be the thing that makes a difference in your day. It may be the smile. It may be the brightness of the s'morange can. By the way, we don't use orange, we use s'morange. You know, we don't have awesome days, we have smawsome days. You know, we're not spicy, we're smossy. You know, we have our own verbiage. When you go through the drive-thru, we don't say, my pleasure. We say, thanks for sliding through. So these are the things, and we didn't do that all intentionally. They just happened. Now, they just happened. Before we start our shift, we all get around just like you would do at a basketball arena, Brandon Landry, and we put our hands in and we say, Smalls in on 3. 1, 2, 3. Smalls in. You know, and that's fun. That's the culture we're building in our restaurants, because we want to make everybody's life better. Because you know what? When a person goes through the drive-thru and their life is a little bit better, or their day is a little bit better because they went to Smalls, who is going to win? We're going to win. All of our brand stakeholders are going to win. Down from the guy who makes the meat, Halpern's Meat, their local company. They make our patties. They're going to be successful if we achieve this, if we go off of that mission. We have a few values, just a few, because we're simple. We don't need a lot of values, and our values are pretty simple. We make one product all day long. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be perfect. They're not coming back tomorrow for the salad. They're not coming back the next day for the chicken slider. And they can't come back the next day for the hot dogs. We have one chance of winning. We have to sweat the small stuff. Every detail is important. The cheese has to be put on there perfect. The bun has to be perfect. If the bun has a dent in it, throw that one away and put another one on. You know, let's make everyone perfect. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. And, you know, we have so much room to grow on this sweat the small stuff, but we're only in our infancy. We have lots of blue sky. We have to serve up the fun. We talked about that already. We serve up the fun, the food tastes better. And we have to put others first. The guest is important. I believe my job is to serve our franchisees. I have to make our franchisees successful. If I make them successful, then they have the capability to make their general managers successful. And if their general managers have the tools and tactics and mindset and expertise to make them successful, they're going to make their team, or what we call the squad. Squad's going to be successful. Everything starts with an S in our world. Squad's going to be successful. And if the squad's successful, who ultimately is going to be successful? The guest. You know, I don't worry about the guest. I worry about the franchisee, because I have to trust that they're going to worry about the squad and the squad's going to worry about the guests. And that's what we do. When we have that mindset, it's a value for us. We're going to be successful if we can do all those three things. But you may say to me, plenty of people have said it to me before, do we really need another QSR restaurant that sells burgers? I mean, don't we have enough? Do we need another brand on the side of the interstate, on the exit sign, saying exit here to get another burger place? And I'd probably say, no, we don't need another McDonald's. We don't need another Smalls. I mean, excuse me, we don't need another Sonic. We don't need that. You know, McDonald's, I don't want to be McDonald's. Why do we go to McDonald's? Consistency, convenience, you know, the latest LTO that just came out, limited time offer that's on the TV. We go there for that. We got to try it. We go there for a cup of coffee sometimes. I go there only for a cup of coffee. I never have anything else. I get a cup of coffee or an iced tea. I'm driving around looking at real estate or something like that. It's a great place to go and get an iced tea. But that's my purpose for them. But even I, who don't really like the food there, has a purpose for them in my life. But we don't need another McDonald's. We're not the same as these guys. People don't come to us for the same reasons they come to these guys. But we also don't need a Shake Shack. Now, Shake Shack's great. They have a great burger. I go to the one over the Perimeter Mall once a year to just check it out. But last time I went, it was $18.90. I got a burger, fries, and a Diet Coke. I'm a Diet Coke guy. And it's like, it wasn't really worth that. Now, it was nice because I got to sit down. I was in a nice environment. The guy next to me had a bottle of wine. You know, I mean, like it's cool. It's a trendy thing to go to Shake Shack, but we don't need another one of those. And Smalls is not trying to be like a Shake Shack or like a Smash Burger. But what we are doing is trying to be more like this middle tier here. These concepts that have small menus, these concepts that prioritize the guest experience, you know, that think that's the most important thing. Some concepts these days are getting so into the AI and the this and that, they're leaning away from the guest experience. They're becoming fast food vending machines, you know, and there's going to become a day when you just walk up and you don't even swipe your credit card. It knows you because it scanned your face when you were turning into the little parking lot. And you just pick up your food. Just a little thing opens up and you pick up your food and you leave. You don't even see a person. That's not our game. It's not our game. It's not Chick-fil-A's game. We're leaning into the guest experience. How can we make a difference in people's lives if we don't even look them in the eyes? We have to do that. So our gig is to be much more like a Chick-fil-A, much more like a Raising Cane's, much more like an In-N-Out Burger. In fact, we asked our guests, we said, if you're not at Smalls, where are you? And they said, Chick-fil-A, Cane's. They didn't say McDonald's. They didn't say McDonald's. And we sat next door to a McDonald's. They didn't say McDonald's. Chick-fil-A was down the street. So no doubt our guest is very similar to a Chick-fil-A guest, somebody who really cares about an experience, you know, and a brand that cares about their clients, their guests. Now, that's what we're trying to do. And if you ask me where we position ourselves, if you go to Houston, Texas, there's a Jack in the Box on every corner. They ain't that good, but they're everywhere. They're really convenient, but not high quality. McDonald's is super, super, super convenient, but not necessarily high quality. Five Guys, though, I don't know about you, but Five Guys makes a damn good burger. You know, they have 28 toppings, by the way. And if you want, you can get all 28 for free. Crazy. Can you imagine making that burger? They have 28 toppings, but Five Guys makes a really good burger. You know what it takes to make a Five Guys French fry? They get the potatoes in, they take them, they wash them, they then stick them in a machine that cuts them. Then they soak them in water 3 times to get the starch off of them. And then they put them in an ice water bath. And then they put them in the refrigerator. Then they take them out and they fry them once. And then they put them in the refrigerator overnight. Then the next day, when you show up, they take them out of the refrigerator and they fry them for you. I feel bad sometimes that we just take ours right out of the freezer, dump them right in the fryer. Like our prep time on fries is 0. You know. By the way, one of the other beauties of our restaurant, we have no prep. No prep. We don't cut any. We don't even have a knife in the restaurant. No knives allowed. It's a no knife zone. Yeah, we have a pair of scissors. We have to open up a bag. You know, we do have a box cutter. We have to open up some boxes. But there's no knives in our restaurant because we don't have any prep. You know, the only thing we do prep, honestly, is we do fry bacon. Every morning we fry bacon. It takes about 30 minutes to make the bacon for the day, and that's it. It's the only thing we do. So where we think our brand is positioned is where convenience and quality intersect. You know, we want to be convenient to everybody, meaning we need locations, they need to be fast, they need to be value-oriented, reasonably priced, that type of thing. But we also need to maintain the standards of a high-quality product. We know some brands in the room that do that, and we aspire to be more like them. So this was that survey. Who did they want? Chick-fil-A or Raising Cane's if they didn't want us. And we also asked them, rank us against those other brands. And I'll just tell you what this says. It's too much to see. But overall satisfaction in our drive-thru, our guests liked us better than Chick-fil-A and Raising Cane's. Our guests. These are our little guests. Like we caught them while they were fixing to buy our product. So don't read too much into this. They liked our quality. They liked our food. They liked our value. Chick-fil-A beat us out in service. That made me think that it's actually a real survey, you know, because Chick-fil-A is the best. There's nobody who runs a drive-through like Chick-fil-A. Nobody in the world. Nobody even close. They say Taco Bell's the fastest. They are, but they're not the best. They're fastest because they only have 4 cars. Chick-fil-A has 40 cars, and they get through the 40. You know, Chick-fil-A has amazing throughput. And that's something we look at in the QSR business is how many cars, how many transactions can we do for every 15 minutes, for every hour? In our brand, to be honest with you, if we get over 100 transactions in an hour, that's massive for us. We end up at 50 to 60 transactions an hour. You know, but at Raising Cane's, we'll do 120 an hour. You know, a Chick-fil-A might do 170 transactions an hour. I'm kind of making that up, but hopefully I'm close. Yeah, more. They can do more. I mean, they do more. You know, when we figure that out, we're gonna take one more step towards being who we want to be. We haven't figured that out yet. There's a few secrets though. These are the things that we have to make sure we focus on all times. And really, we've gone through all these things. It's about people. Surround yourself with good people. Hire only the good people. Hire slow, fire fast. Right? Terrible thing to say. Sounds so insensitive. You know what? I've been fired once, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know. So you don't feel bad when you allow somebody, you release somebody to go find the career that they belong in. You know, it's actually you're doing them a favor. They don't always see it that way when they throw the fries at you, but you have to, you have to be right by people. So we have to be people first. We have to invest in everybody. When I talk about people, I'm not talking about just the squad members. I'm talking about our vendors. I'm talking about our community partners. I'm talking about the guy who works at the Little League down the street where we're sponsoring his team. I'm talking about the people who work in the factory processing the meat to make our patties. Those are the people. All of them are important. All of them are important. And my job is to make them all successful. Because if they are all successful, then I'm successful. When I say I'm talking about our brand. And we have to be team players. We have to maintain this focused menu. You know, I have a good friend that was the chief development officer for Rallies and Checkers. And she told me that when Rallies first started, they had 1 burger and 1 fry. That's it. That's it. And go back to McDonald's. We all watched the founder. They had 1 burger and 1 fries. They had the simple menu, kind of like us. But they allowed the peer pressure to continue to add products. I was at dinner last night with a guy who owns 47 IHOPs in California, of all places. And he told me that they have some menu items they only sell 1 a week of. but they can't get rid of them. They can't get rid of them because they have one guest that has it. So he says their business is just wonky because they have so many products. You know, we're going to try to stay true to that discipline of not adding a bunch of menu items and stay focused. Doesn't mean we're not going to play with the sauce a little bit. We have a spicy sauce. It's good. We may fry some jalapenos and put them on top of the burger one day. But right now we're staying very, very focused on what we're doing. Will we play with milkshakes? Will we play with soft drinks and things like that? Absolutely. We want to keep it fresh and we want to create new things. We always have to be focused on the magic things. Quality, 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 speed, 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 and great hospitality. You know, hospitality is something we've gotten used to getting bad hospitality in the world, right? We accept it, like me with Popeyes. Popeyes, their hospitality is just terrible, but their chicken's good. 1 out of 5 times. And we have to deliver an unexpected guest interaction. We want them to get through the drive-thru experience and say, wow, that was nice. You know, that doesn't happen very often, right? Normally you're kind of frustrated and then they forget the queso. That happens to us. People call us you forgot my queso. You know, they're mad. You know, that's the worst thing. If you look at, you know, when we look at Google and we look at guest sentiment, most of the complaints are, it took too long to get it. You know, speed of service. We're really working hard on that. And the second thing is, you forgot my queso. We now have it where the kitchen display system flashes, you know, in big letters, queso, queso goes in this bag. And sometimes we still forget it. So that's why I said earlier, we have to sweat the small stuff. That's really, really important. And just good example of people having fun. And I'm probably running out of time, so I'm going to move really quick now. So look, Drew Brees, we're the poster child of the QSR industry right now. We've been on the cover of QSR Magazine, Nation's Restaurant News. All the restaurant trades are featuring our brand. And it's a great position for me to be in, because I get these guys calling me up and they say, like, we own 250 Taco Bells and we'd like to bring smalls into our portfolio. Fantastic. I don't sell smalls. I take orders. Somebody comes to me and I say, how many would you like? And that's a good position to be in, right? Now I have to make sure they're the right person. I have to make sure I've given them all the education they need so they know what they're getting into. My job is to align their expectations to reality. Because I don't want them to call me 6 months after they buy the franchise and say, you know, Richard, you didn't tell me this. You didn't tell me this. I had no idea this was going to happen. And now I want out. No buyer's remorse. That's my job as a franchise sales professional. But QSR Magazine's recognize us. Entrepreneurs are starting to recognize us. Nation's Restaurant News. But you may wonder, what does it cost to open one of these suckers? It ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. And I know this is a lot of information, but it costs $2 million to put one of our cans on the ground. This is just what it costs. Now, what does it cost to build a Chick-fil-A? I don't know, 4 million, 5 million. What's it cost to build an Arby's? 2.4 million. A Popeyes, 2.6, 2.7 million. So we're actually relatively inexpensive in the QSR world compared to the volumes that we do in our restaurants. The big number is this number right here. Building and site work. Now we use a modular building. So our restaurant building is 800 square foot, built in a factory. It is a state-of-the-art, beautiful stainless steel kitchen that's built in a factory in Florida, brought on an 18-wheeler, a 250-ton crane picks it up, drops it on a pedestal, concrete pedestals that we put in the ground, 6 pedestals that could be 2 feet deep or 20 feet deep in South Louisiana. And we open up 10 weeks later. Speed to open is a big thing in this industry. You know, you build the average QSR, it's going to take 6 months. It can take 3 months for us. And you know what the difference between 3 and 6 months is? $1 million in revenue. $1 million in revenue. So I always tell people this, our restaurants kind of pay for themselves because we get open faster. But getting open faster is important. But so 450,000 of this number, high and low, is the building. So the difference is concrete curbing, landscaping, infrastructure, electrical. Sometimes the electrical is right where you need it. Sometimes it's a half mile down the street. You got to go build it. You got to go build that infrastructure to get it to you. Sometimes there's no plumbing. Sometimes we've got to put tanks underground in order to fit on a particular property. This is where it gets pricey. The most expensive restaurant we built so far costs 2.1 to build, but they're going to do 5 million their first year. That's pretty impressive, pretty impressive. But if I ask 10 franchisees what it costs them to open, and by the way, they don't all do 5 million. I wish they did. I don't want to leave you with that impression. I told you earlier, our average unit volume is just around 2 million. And some of it's us learning what we're doing. I told a group of franchisees the other day, I said, every time we open up a restaurant, we open up with a crew that's never been with us before. We open up with a general manager that's brand new. Everything is the worst it's ever going to be. When that franchisee opens up their second location, they're going to have a manager that's trained. They're going to have people that have muscle memory, people that know what to do. Our guest experience is going to be better and their sales are going to be better. So we have nothing to do but go upwards from where we are today. And we're proud of our sales where they are today. We've got plenty of potential to go up. Can't remember what I was saying, so I'll just move on. What we look for is people with passion. People with passion. Those are the people that make great franchisees, people that care, people that want. That's the Chick-fil-A model, right? They bring people in that really care about the team. And same thing with us. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want a guy who just says, how much money can I make? That's the kiss of death. You know, you have to have a reason to be in business larger than making money. If you tell me all you want to do is make money, I don't even want to talk to you. I want you to tell me about how you want to build a legacy for your family. I want to talk to me about how you love the fact that you want to make revenue so you can get involved in a charity, or how you can be involved in the community. That's what's important to me. And of course, our revenue is royalties, ad fees, and technology fees, and those kind of things. That's how we generate value at our franchise office. You know, we collect royalty. What is a royalty? It's our little piece of every dollar that goes to the restaurant that we earned the minute that they spent it. Because why did they go to the restaurant? Because it had our brand on it. It had our intellectual property. It had our systems and all of our tools. Why do we support the restaurants? We really collect no money to support the restaurants, but we do it because we want them to continue to come. And that's why we do it. I give you that definition because sometimes people look as a royalty as a service fee. That's not what a royalty is. A royalty is our piece for giving you the intellectual property. You know, I don't want a franchisee to look at me as a vendor. You know, what happens if your cable guy is supposed to show up today and he doesn't show up? You call him and you bitch at him and you're mad at him and I'm going to cancel this service. That's not the kind of relationship I want to have with a franchisee if my operations consultant doesn't show up. You know, I want him to say, oh, I better call that guy and make sure he's okay. You know, that's what I want. And so I don't want people to look at a royalty like a service fee like we have in our industry. This is the growth map. 22 states outlined. All of these orange territories are territories that we have a franchise developer partner in that's developing their 5 units or 10 units, or in a few cases, 20 units, or in a few cases, 3 or 4 units. It just depends. So we've sold most of Florida. This area here, look, we've got some areas that we're still trying to, maybe y'all want to be a franchisee? Still have some openings over here. We had originally not sold any of this for some personal reasons, and then we decided just recently we would go ahead and sell them. And we're as far west as Las Vegas. We have our first site in Las Vegas. It's in permitting right now. And we're as far north as Iowa. And we dropped a can in Denver a couple of weeks ago. We're trying our hardest to get it open up. He says, if I open it on 12/29, it's a $400,000 tax advantage than if I open it up on January 1st. So we're busting to try to help this guy get open on 12/29. Our poor store openers. By the way, we don't have store openers. We have can openers. Makes sense, right? Keep the verbiage. Got to have the verbiage. So we have been busy. This has been my job, is to fill all these polygons with people that are passionate. That's what I'm trying to do. And all the blue areas, I'm working really hard on Chicago right now. And Chicago, Ohio, I've got a bunch of people that want in, but I don't think they're the right people. I got to find the right people. So I go back to the well until you find the right people. Sorry to pick, I'm not picking on Chick-fil-A. I'm actually saying such great things about you, but they go through like 40,000 applicants a year just to get 50 people. Wow, talk about selective. There should be some laws against that. No, it's incredible. And that's why their franchisees are so passionate. Here's some pictures. I promised you some pictures. It started at Nicholson Drive. That was unit number 1. You can see it looks almost like unit number 10. Yeah, the colors changed a little bit. The logo changed a little bit. In the first one, we built a stick building, and then we took some containers and we chopped them up and we wrapped the building with it. That was the original concept. When we opened up the second restaurant, we got a little smarter and we did a modular building and dropped a 20-foot sea can on top. You know why? It was the height of the supply chain and we couldn't get a 40-foot sea can. They were all on a ship somewhere waiting to be unloaded. It was a mess. So then we did Thibodaux, first franchise location, the most difficult opening we've ever had. And we got the 40-foot can on there. See the patio? Sits 40 people outside. 65% of our people go through the drive-through. 20% order digitally. DoorDash on our app, at our website. And another 15% initiate their orders right here at this window. And some of them, many of them, sit down in the patio and enjoy it. In Athens, we had to enclose this patio because we needed a larger building. I said that earlier. They wouldn't give us a building permit on an 800 square foot building. It needed to be 1,800 square feet. So we had to adapt. Adapt is the word. In Shreveport, they wouldn't allow us to use corrugated metal on the exterior, so we tricked them. We used hardy board, but we still maintain the brand image always. And we've used this in many, many communities. Prairieville opened up, Slidell, Denham, Moreau. These 3 opened up. They all did 2.65 million their first year. And we really kind of knew we were onto something when that happened. They did really, really well. Then we opened up Lafayette. It has 2 cans. 1, 2. Beautiful. I always say more cans the better. And this restaurant blew everybody away. When this one opened up, we're like, man, we're really on something. Then we did West Monroe. It did fine. And we did Flowood, Mississippi, and it beat everybody. Then we did Metairie. It has 3 cans. It blew everybody away. That's Drew Brees' first restaurant that he owns himself. He owns 2 restaurants today. Then we did Gonzales and Baton Rouge again. Then we did Lake Charles. We're getting closer to Texas now. And it blew everybody away. When I say blew everybody, best opening day, best first week sales, those kind of metrics that we look at. Then we did our first one in Florida. Blew all of them away. Then we did Ocala and it blew all of them away. The problem with Ocala was when you got at the end of the line, it was an hour and 15 minutes before you got out. And I hate to say it, but nothing really tastes good after waiting an hour and 15 minutes, So we actually decided after Ocala, we would never announce an opening again. We're just going to open. So now we may put up a banner, but we're not going out and advertising. We're not having people on the radio talk about us. We're not doing a huge celebration. There's no DJ in the parking lot. We're just going to take it easy because the guest is always first, right? And then we did Jonesboro and Alexandria. And now we have 42 open. So we went big into Texas. We have a unit in St. Louis, Kansas City, Wichita, Kansas. We have Arkansas units, Jonesboro, Arkansas. We've got our first unit in El Paso, Texas. Beautiful restaurant, doing really, really well. We've got units now here in Atlanta, and we're on the way. We're on the way. We will have 100 units at this time next year. We'll double our size, double our buying power, double our strength. Hopefully increase our revenues at the same time. So it's, our partners are fantastic, and it's all about people, right? 10 Point Capital, look them up. They're great people. Brandon Landry and Drew Brees. Drew Brees he is trying to do what he did in the NFL in business. And his vehicle is not a football, it's franchising. and he's going to achieve it. It's amazing. And of course, we've got a leadership team of people that are all engaged. Most of these people came from other brands, Raising Cane's, Dunkin' Donuts. Help me. Cinnabon. Tara's, she started with us before me, but she was outsourced. Greg came from a bunch of businesses that buy beef, a bunch of them. Chris came from Inspire Brands, so did Adam. So we've got a great team of people. We have probably 40 people in our corporate office now. So in just 3 years, we've gone from 2 to 40. And it's been a real pleasure to talk to y'all and share my passion for franchising and, business and guest experience. Because to me, that's all it's about, what it's about. And the ability to hopefully help people be successful, giving back, So it was an honor to be here today. If there's any questions or anything, I don't know if we have any time or not, but we probably don't. I'm sorry. I thought I'd have trouble filling 10 minutes.
No, not at all. Thank you. I learned a lot. Thank you for telling me. And we have something that'll go next to your franchise for dummies
Wow.
on your bookshelf. So that's you.
Wow.
It is the UGA Red and Black. Go Dogs.
Oh.
So you'll learn how to call the dogs at some point, I'm sure. So for all of you, the next time the Athens one opens up, I think Haley said Q1, Q2, sometime 2026. Go by there.
Do we have a list of all the people that are here? And could you give me
We
that
can get
list?
that.
And
We
I'd like
can
to send y'all an
absolutely get
email to come visit us.
Yes. So all of you go visit the Smalls in Athens or here. So thank you for being here. Reminder, if you need your parking validated, please stop by the desk outside and make sure you get your parking validated. But thank you, Richard, so much for being here.